Good morning, students. Welcome back to my channel, Molecular Mysteries. In the last class, I have covered the peripheral nervous system, and in the previous classes, I have covered the central nervous system and all, right? So, in this class, let's talk about the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so you have seen the thumbnail. So, this class, let's talk about the autonomic nervous system. What is autonomic nervous system and why is it so important? How it really regulates your involuntary actions in your body, like how is it independent, and what are the types of autonomic nervous system, like what are sympathetic and parasympathetic, the differences between the two can also be discussed in this class. So please stay tuned to this class. So let's get into the class. Okay, so previously, hope you are all following my channel. So I'm also posting the questions. Please make sure you're answering them. Okay, for your understanding. Okay, now what is parasympathetic and parasympathetic? Before you enter into it, you have to be well aware of the topic called autonomic nervous system. What does autonomic nervous system mean? The autonomous means autonomic nervous system is the one which is partly independent. Like, okay, it acts as an intermediate between the central nervous system, which with the help of the central nervous system, it takes the further actions according to the response to the environment. This autonomic works. Like there are many activities that are involuntary in action. So in what are involuntary in action? So involuntary is the one which is not in our control, right? So voluntary actions like lifting a book, lifting a pen is what you call the voluntary actions. The involuntary actions are the one which are done in your body without your own notice. Like if you take the example of heartbeat, it is not in under control, our control, right? It is involuntary. The same way the peristaltic movements of gut, the digestion, the respiration, everything is all set and done by the involuntary actions. So these are all controlled by the autonomic nervous system. So let's talk about that in this class. So as I told you, they are partly independent, they are not under voluntary control, and they serve as an intermediate through the central nervous system and controls the involuntary activities. Okay, like it could be the sensation of smell, like that. So if you have mouth watering upon seeing a dish, it is what you call the involuntary action. So upon when you touch a very hot subject, or when you touch a very hot item, immediately you will remove your hands from that, right? So it does this, it is involuntary action, they are not under control. It is a quick and immediate response given by your body. And now see what are the functions and what actually the autonomic nervous system control in your body. So it helps in the control of your glands release, like hormonal release, and the smooth muscle movement and the cardiac muscle movement are all under the autonomic nervous system control. Okay, so now we'll also discuss about what are the types of autonomic nervous system and functions, and also the differences. So the autonomic nervous system is mainly divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. So what does the difference is, the sympathetic nervous system is generally under, like when it is in conditions like physical activity, alertness, or danger, when you have to be active. So this sympathetic nervous system will take the control. So autonomic nervous system would immediately, you know, activates your sympathetic nervous system. When you are in a normal condition, like relaxing, normally sitting, it is when the parasympathetic nervous system would get activated. So when it is in a condition like stress, or you can say a physical activity, or you are under some alerting nature, or some in a danger situation, the autonomic nervous system of your body would immediately activate your sympathetic nervous system. That is where these changes would happen, like increase your heartbeat. So if you can come out with a physical activity, you will obviously have a physical more rate of your respiration and more rate of your cardiac output. In the same way, it dilates your pupils. Okay, and whatever the really energy that was stored in your liver and all, it would be giving out. So that is how the sympathetic nervous system would happen, would be activated during your stress conditions, or during your physical activity, or during the danger situations which are not normal, right? So, and this is how the sympathetic nervous system works. So I told you it increases your heartbeat automatically. In the same way, the respiratory rate is also being accelerated more in sympathetic nervous system. At the same time, what happens is, when this situation happen, there are some processes in your body that have to be inhibited, then only those system will activate. So the digestion and urination are not that important during your stress conditions. That is why these are at a stop condition during the sympathetic nervous system. So this sympathetic nervous system would inhibit these biological process in your body while they are activating your other important stimuli, how it responds to the outgoing environment. Okay, that is how the sympathetic and parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system work? See, actually these two are antagonistic in nature, like they are like a brake and accelerator mechanism. So I will let you discuss in the let discuss in that in the coming slides, so that you will understand better. Okay. And so this is how the parasympathetic nervous system work. I told you they are inhibiting the urination and digestion, called the biological process in the body. Okay. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is also known as thoracolumbar outflow, because you have your preganglions and the postganglions arising from the thoracic part of your body and the lumbar part of your body. See, I told you the whole nervous system is all about the cranium muscles and the spinal cord muscles. Cranium is coming from the brain, and the spinal cord nerves coming from the spinal cord, right? Spinal nerves and all. So you have a ganglion. What is actually ganglion means? Ganglion is nothing but a cluster of neurons. I can say it's a group of neuron cells. Okay. So what happens is, you have you have the nerves that are moving around your spinal cord or vertebral column, from which you have your preganglionic neurons coming out, right? All the preganglions would enter into the ganglion. Okay. And this ganglion is set of neurons which we would really receive all the impulses through synapses. What is actually synapse? I can say the two neurons would join together for the transmission of impulse from one neuron to a neuron. It's a junction. Like, synapse is a junction where the two neurons unite and helps in forming or transferring the impulses. That is how the synapses work in the ganglion. You have millions of synapses in the ganglion. Okay. So what happens is, these preganglionic neurons that are arising from your lumbar part and the thoracic part of your sympathetic nervous system would enter into ganglion, and from the ganglion they enter into postganglionic neurons, and thus it enters into all your major organs. That is how the impulses are mainly transferred from brain, spinal cord to the other organs. So I will also give you a small diagram for it, so that you can understand it, and also I will give you the links in the description for better understanding. Please note it. Okay, so I thought the sympathetic nervous system is also known as thoracolumbar, regularly arranged ganglia in thoracic and lumbar region. As I told you, there is one ganglion on each spinal nerve. This please remember. Okay, you have only one ganglion for each spinal nerve that are arising from the spinal cord. Okay, now I will show you the picture that I have taken from a book. If you are not quite understanding, please let me know in the comments. I will give you a better picture. See, this is part of thoracic lumbar. This is a thoracic part of your spinal cord, and this is your lumbar part. So if you observe it, the dotted lines are called the sympathetic nervous system, where these are all the preganglionic neurons, because this is called the ganglion. I told you these are the ganglions. For each and every spinal nerve, you got one single ganglion, and all the preganglionic neurons would enter into your ganglion, and from ganglion you have to these postganglionic neurons would enter into the major organs in your body. So if you can observe it, see, this is how it happens. These are all the thoracic part. The lower thoracic part and upper lumbar part is mainly of your sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So these all preganglionic neurons, see, it has entered into the celiac ganglion. It is where the cluster of all neurons is collected. And now from the ganglion, they are called the postganglionic neurons, which would enter into your major organs like pancreas and liver. Okay. So these are the thoracic and lumbar part of a sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So for your understanding, I will also give you a better picture in the description, and also the links for you to understand, because these are the questions that can be asked here. Which organ or which part of your nerve are like? Okay. See, for your gist of understanding till now, whatever you have thought about central sympathetic nervous system. So in brief, I'm giving you, in sympathetic nervous system, the preganglion neurons arise from the thoracic part and the lumbar region of the spinal cord, and it has a higher degree of neuron divergence. What does that mean? So when the postganglions arise from your ganglion, celiac ganglion and all, the postganglion neurons are so well organized or so diversified that they have they are entering into a specific locations. Okay. They are very well diverged, like they are completely spread. That is how the sympathetic nervous system happen. So one preganglion neurons can have synapses up to 20 postganglionic neurons. So this is how the ratio is. Okay, for one preganglion, it may give rise to 20 postganglion. We have synapses in the ganglion. So it is, I told you, it is a widespread, better than your parasympathetic. Okay, this is how the sympathetic nervous system work. And now let's see about the parasympathetic nervous system. So this parasympathetic nervous system only works when it is in a normal conditions. So whenever see, when I told you this sympathetic nervous system would arise during the danger conditions or alert conditions, or like during a high physical activity, right? So to get back the body to the normal, like you have to metabolize it and you have to get the back get the body back to a normal. For that, the parasympathetic nervous system will be activated. So that is how the autonomic nervous system is very important in balancing both the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So this sympathetic nervous system would help you to restore the body to normal. That is where the heartbeat is coming back to normal, the respiratory rate is also coming back to normal, and the digestion stimulation will start. Because it is a normal condition, all the biological process should happen, right? So obviously the urination, obviously the digestion, and obviously the storing of energy would normally happen in parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, hope I am clear with the topic without any confusion. Okay, now let's see what actually the parasympathetic nervous does. Okay, and like from where it is arising, and I'll also give you a small diagram, because from which part of your cranium muscle, cranium nerves it is arising. So I told you the parasympathetic nervous system arises from your brain stem and the sacral region of your spinal cord. Okay, see, this is how it depends looks like. The preganglionic neurons arise from the brain stem and the sacral regions of your spinal cord. So in the previous diagram I have shown you the sympathetic nervous system with a dotted line. For your understanding, I am giving you a straight line called parasympathetic nerves that arise from your body, mainly from your brainstem and your spinal cord. Okay, so the parasympathetic ganglia are located within the target organs. So the postganglions are relatively shorter. So I told you, in the sympathetic nerve system you have a diversified postganglionic neurons arising from your ganglion, right? So they have a diversified and long lengthy neurons that are arising. But for your parasympathetic nervous system, the postganglions that are arising from your ganglion are very short. So they're, because they are very organ specific, and they are, they have a lower degree of your divergence. They are not much spread like your sympathetic nervous system. So the postganglion relatively short than sympathetic nervous system. So please be aware the differences between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Okay, so the ganglions, the postganglions are shorter in parasympathetic, but the postganglions are larger in and diversified in sympathetic. Okay, and the degree of divergence, I told you, it is widespread in synthetic, but it is not that widespread in parasympathetic. Let's see that in the diagram. So degree of divergence is lower compared to your sympathetic nervous system, and they are more specific and localized responses than sympathetic. So the parasympathetic, as they are having lower number of ganglions, like post ganglion, they are more specific to the organs. That doesn't need to travel much like the sympathetic. So they are more localized and specific. See, let's see the diagram, we can be visualized better. Hope I'm not confusing with that. So you will get an idea how really it works in the diagram. See, this is how it looks like. So these are the dotted lines, that was all the sympathetic. Now we are talking about the parasympathetic. So this parasympathetic arise from your cranium nerves. So this is the midbrain. See, midbrain and medulla come under the brain, so they are called the cranial nerves. And you have the thoracic part, which arises from your spinal cord. Okay, so I told you, from the midbrain and medulla you have the parasympathetic nerves that arise and enter into your ciliary muscles. It could be mucous membrane, it could be maxillary glands, it could be salivary glands, oral mucosa. So these are all coming under the supply of nerves from the brain or the cranial nerves. Okay, these are, so if you observe it, these are the ganglions, and you have very small postganglionic neurons when compared to sympathetic. That is how it looks like. Okay, this is the upper part, like I can say these are the areas from the brain part, the okay, the brain stem, right? These are the ganglions that are arising from your brain stem. In the same way, if you talk about the spinal part, the sacral part of your spinal cord, there also you have parasympathetic nerves. So now let's see how it looks like in the parasympathetic nerves arising from your sacral part of your spinal cord. So I'll show. Yeah, this is the part. So I told you this is the lumbar part. Here, these are all the dotted lines are all the parasympathetic, sympathetic, sorry, and the neurons that are arising from your sacral part, your spinal cord, are called the parasympathetic, and this would control your organs like kidney, urinary bladder, sexual organs, gonads, and all. Okay, this continuous line is called the parasympathetic, and this discontinued dotted line are the sympathetic neurons. Hope I am clear with the ganglion, synapses, postganglion, and preganglionic neurons. Okay, so this can be asked any of the questions. So please be aware. So till now we have discussed about the differences, types, and also how it really works, how the autonomic nervous system works. Now, okay, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay, these are the what are the major differences between them? So I told you at what conditions they are activated, what conditions they are not. Right, they should be balanced between the both, and autonomic nervous system plays a vital role in balancing both parasympathetic and sympathetic. So if you have any doubt, please let me know in the comment box, and please help me in giving the response in asking the questions that I'm been posting in the community tab, and please let me know the feedback how the classes are going on. So thank you and see you in the next class. So in the next class, I will come with how the impulses have been transmitted, how what are the ions inverted, and what the other important thing that I want to talk about is the acetylcholine. So I'll let anyway I'll discuss that what is acetylcholine and what is the role of acetylcholine in the transmission of your nerves impulses. Okay, so see you in the next class, and thank you and have a nice day.